Hi guys, it's Nicole, and if you're new here, welcome. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. I've got another project with the Oh What Fun line from Traci Reed. I actually kind of did two layouts back to back when I was playing with the new release, so you're going to see a lot of the same patterns, my giant pile of die cuts that I love digging through, a lot of the same kind of design type things. To me, this is a good method for kind of speeding up the process. Instead of working one layout start to finish and then starting number two and going and reprinting different patterns when I already have patterns out that I know I love because I picked them first to begin with. To me, it's just a no-brainer to kind of continue and stay with these papers that I've already printed. So these patterns are going to be some of the same ones that I used in my first run through with this collection. I also mentioned in my previous video that when I look for sketches, I'm making sure that the sketches that I'm looking for are going to work within the parameters of what my personal printing can handle. I don't have a wide format printer, so I just have regular letter size paper to print from. And I believe when I printed the papers, like my go-to is the Traveler notebook size ones because they kind of remind me of like a 6x6 or a 6x8. These ones, when I put them in Photoshop, I resized them to, I think, like 11-inch squares, and then I cropped it to 8.5 to be able to print. And my printer, I can't figure out, I think I'm missing a box. It's printing a border, which is totally fine. It's just one extra step to cut off. Sometimes I get it right and it will print edge to edge when I'm not paying attention, but I'm still kind of learning the preferred print method that I like. So all that to say that I specifically picked a sketch that kind of would fit with the scraps that I had left and just kind of make my life a little bit easier while also allowing me to continue to play with the papers that I love. I did bring in this little stripe piece to kind of add some layers onto these strips, and then I'm going to go ahead and do some more hand stitching. I mentioned this in the other video that I did for this collection. Is I tried to make sure that just because it's a hybrid collection or it's something that I'm printing at home, I don't really treat the product any differently than I would like a regular scrapbook collection. The only difference is I have printed it at home. Maybe the paper sizes are a little bit different, but because I can print it at home, I can take those small like embellishment pieces that I tend to use up quickly and just make more. That's my absolute favorite. Things like this wood grain paper, I think I've printed like 3 times at this point because you guys know I love a good wood grain, and Traci does wood grain so good. There's actually a pattern in this collection that is like chunky stripes, and the stripes themselves are a wood grain print. So that's kind of like on my list to try to use soon. So same concepts that I like to do with a lot of my layouts. Now here, this is where I wanted to show you that your print settings matter. When I printed another sheet of the wood grain, it came out really orange, and I was like, whoa, what is happening? And so I went and just flipped it over and printed on the other side, changed some of my settings, and it came out more the color that I had originally printed, like less warm, more cool toned, more like a true brown. And for me, like I said, I print the papers through Photoshop Elements. And so the difference between the two, for me, again, this might vary depending on how you print and stuff like that. The difference in settings on mine was when I just ran it through as like a basic print, it came out that orange color. When I went through and checked things like making sure it was high instead of standard, photo instead of, I can't think of what the other option is, like basic printing or something like that. You want to go through and basically tell the printer and tell the software that you want the best results possible. So to me, am I printing a photo? No, but I need the printer to read the information as if it was a photo. And that's how I'm able to get it to print really well. I am by no means an expert in print and cuts and printing things at home. I just like to kind of talk about things that work for me, things that don't work for me. If you are looking for things like frequently asked questions and tutorials, the first place to go look would be on Traci Reed's website. She's got a whole section. I would say her YouTube channel, and then some of the designers that have been on her design team for a while. I went and watched a bunch of their videos, and kind of sprinkled within their videos, they've got different like tips and tricks. But again, it's going to be kind of based on individual like print setup as well. I am still loving finding a use for these Simple Stories tile letters. I really like them. I like the fact that the colors really match with the way that my printer prints these colors. The only downside is I do like to back them with cardstock just because those alphabet sticker books are a little thin. And if they were going to go flat to the layout, it would have been fine. But because I'm going over a couple different layers between the photos, the mats, the strips of paper, the stitching, stuff like that, I prefer to put the cardstock backer on it, just go ahead and trim them out, and then I'm able to put foam squares behind the letters. And the foam squares just kind of stick really good to all the different layers that these are going on top of, and then it kind of gives them a lift off the page and just helps them sort of have their own dimension. I went with a pretty basic title of Decorating Cookies. I'm still obsessed with this like gingerbread font. I think I used it on all 3 projects that I'm working with this month. It was one of those things that like, if it's good and I love it, just keep doing it. In January, I promise I will try not to become obsessed with a specific set of letters and try to mix things up a little bit more. For my journaling strips, I am using this template that I have made. I want to say it's probably been at least a year since I've made this and shared it. I will post a link in the eye above where you can find a video that kind of talks about this, and then I think in my Facebook group, people have talked about what worked for them, what didn't work for them. I personally prefer the sheet version. It doesn't seem to get, like the settings don't seem to get moved around, and I kind of like the way that the sheet looks visually on my computer screen. It's just a little bit easier for me to kind of work within it. And if I can, I do try to type up journaling for multiple layouts, so I'm not wasting a sheet of paper. But I've also been known to run like, as long as it's 8.5 inches wide, I've run like half sheets through my printer or the back side of stuff. I think the layout I made after this, I actually needed to reprint my title piece. So like I printed my title on one sheet of the paper, my journaling on the other sheet of the paper, and then cut everything out. For the journaling strips, I am going to go ahead and nestle them down here underneath these photos. And then I forgot to zoom out, but I've just kind of kept a pile of all of the stickers and the die cuts, and I like to just dig through them. Normally this would bother me. Normally I would want to kind of arrange them on a piece of cardstock or something like that. No, I'm just enjoying the pile of just fun. And I feel like every time I dig through it, I see something new. And I find myself that like I'm still reaching for these florals. I just think that they're so unique and like different than other things that I've seen lately. And I used a big one down here before I put my journaling strips on. I needed to make sure that there was something there before I attached them, or I was going to have to kind of peel everything up. And I like to just kind of make sure that everything is touching something else. That's kind of how I avoid things looking like they're kind of floating or ungrounded, is I just make sure everything's kind of touching something. And This is one of those ones where I'm not really sure where I want to put anything. I know generally based off the sketch, like where to kind of start making little clusters, and from there I just start going. I have a bunch of the florals that I cut in half for layout 1, and they're perfect to kind of bring in and nestle behind things, and because they're already cut in half, they've got that flat edge to kind of butt up against photos. With this one, the theme being gingerbread cookies, I made sure to include some of those like baking icons, this little sweet treat in the drink cup, and I'm using, like I said, the florals and the leaves to like fill in the clusters and stuff. And I did, like, I was liking it here, and I was like, you know what, I kind of feel like I need something. I need something to like sprinkle here and there. I thought about cutting out like tiny hearts or bringing in like some sequins, and then I realized that there was these little tiny like snowflake star looking things, and I was like, oh, these are perfect. So I grabbed some foam squares to pop up behind them, and I just kind of tucked them in along that scene. I am going to remember to go ahead and add the date while I have this out, and so I don't have to do it later when I go to put my layout away. And sometimes if I'm paying attention, I will incorporate some sort of design element to include my date on. If I don't, I just do this. I just date the lower right-hand corner, and this makes it just kind of easy for me to find it, to be able to put it in an album, and then also to find it when I'm looking through my albums. So there is my completed layout and some detail shots. And like I said, I am going to have a third project this month, and I'm going to mix in another collection, an older collection, into this one, and it's going to be so fun, and it's going to be a double page. So be on the lookout for that, and I will catch you guys later, and here's some more recommended content. Bye.